dude.
No more, Mr. Nice Guy, I found a new style.
Everyone knows Darwin Watterson is the heart of Elmore. Loyal, kind, unshakably good. But what happens when his heart breaks and never heals? What if the one who kept Gumball from going too far became the one everyone feared? Well, you might be surprised about how Elmore would be if Darwin turned evil. I don't know about you, but looking at it carefully over the years, Darwin has had quite a few reasons to turn evil. I mean, starting from the episode titled The Roots from the 4th season, we see Darwin trying to kind of find his way back to where he actually came from. Yes, a lot of things in the show are masked with humor, but there could be some truth in what went down in that episode. The episode begins with the Wattersons driving to the mall, and Darwin suggests that they should stop by the pet store, to which Nicole agrees. But while they're there, Nicole notices Darwin looking sadly at a group of fish in a tank. Nicole notices that something seems off with him, and Darwin only laments that he was looking at how happily the fish are swimming in the tank before walking away. Back home, Nicole browses through Darwin's internet history to find out what is troubling him. After seeing that he has been searching for a better fish environment, she concludes that Darwin is unhappy with living with them. The only problem is, the family does not want Darwin to leave them, so they try to make their home more suitable for a fish by eating worms in fish hooks for dinner, wearing ocean-themed outfits, and listening to whale sounds. But this only disturbs and confuses poor Darwin. Later in that episode, Darwin laments that he never knew his birth parents, or what his life in the ocean would have been. Nicole then guilt trips him by lamenting how much the family owes him after adopting him, raising him, and caring for him. Maybe he was actually starting to feel left out. Maybe he was beginning to wish he was a cat like Gumball and Nicole, or a rabbit like Richard and Anais, so he could fit more into the family. Or what about the time in the episode titled The Dream, where Gumball makes Darwin apologize for something he didn't even do? What happens is, Gumball has a dream where he sees Penny in front of him, and the hallway falls apart to reveal outer space. Penny sings opera, while Gumball dances toward her. The singing and dancing continues until Darwin appears out of nowhere, holding Penny's hand. They dance together while Gumball watches in complete shock. Darwin then makes an evil grinning face at Gumball and kisses Penny, and Gumball completely loses it. Then he wakes up realizing it was a dream. But for some reason, Gumball is angry at Darwin and even tries to strangle him. He knows it's just a dream, but somehow he's still mad. Even at school, Gumball refuses to talk to Darwin or do any of the fun stuff they normally would. And you know, typical Darwin, he apologizes because he does not want Gumball to be angry. But Gumball tells him that he can't accept the apology, especially if he doesn't mean it. And then there's that one time where Gumball and Darwin were supposed to babysit Anais in Nicole and Richard's absence. But of course, everything goes wrong. When the two arrive back home, Richard tries to calm Nicole down and assure her that nothing went wrong. But as she opens the front door, a crazy amount of water knocks them onto the lawn. Nicole furiously approaches the kids and demands to know who was responsible. Anais is about to take the blame, but Gumball wants to be responsible for once and confess it was his fault instead. But after seeing the furious face of his mother, however, he blames Darwin, like he always does. I mean, who wouldn't have a villain arc from all of this? But let's take a look at what could actually go down if Darwin were to become the complete opposite of what we all love and turn completely evil. This is the same Darwin who is the moral compass of the Watterson family, the kind one, the voice of reason, the one always trying to make peace. So for him to change, something deep inside would have to break. You know, starting from the small disappointments, Gumball taking credit for his ideas, friends laughing at him instead of with him, people seeing him as the nice guy who never fights back. Over time, those little hurts would pile up. He'd start questioning if being kind was worth it, if always forgiving others meant he'd never be taken seriously. Instead of helping people just because it's right, he might start doing it to manipulate outcomes, to make people owe him, or to get what he wants. In his social life, his new evil side would be subtle at first. Darwin's the type everyone trusts, so when he starts acting a bit off, nobody suspects much. Maybe he starts using guilt to control people, like reminding Gumball of all the times he saved him, or making Penny doubt Gumball's loyalty so she leans toward him instead. He'd become sharper, more observant, knowing exactly what buttons to press to make others bend. He'd still be funny on the surface, but there'd be this edge underneath. You know, sarcasm replacing sincerity and fake empathy to hide manipulation. His classmates at Elmore Junior High might start to sense something's wrong, but he'd always twist things so he looks like the victim. People like Carrie or Anais might catch on early, noticing how Darwin's kindness has turned cold. But by the time they confront him, he'd already have the upper hand. And if you're wondering who would try to stop him, the first person would obviously be Gumball. I mean, they're brothers and best friends, so Gumball would take it personally. He'd probably think he could fix Darwin with humor or apologies, only to realize that this version of Darwin doesn't laugh anymore, at least not genuinely. Nicole would step in next, trying to talk sense into him, but her tough love approach might only push him further away. Richard would probably still believe Darwin's just going through a phase and offer him snacks instead of some man-to-man time. Anais, being the smartest, would recognize that logic won't work here. This is emotional damage, and it really isn't something you can reason out of someone. She'd start digging into what caused it, only to realize everyone's taking Darwin for granted. When the sweet, polite Darwin starts acting cold, manipulative, and maybe even cruel, people would think it's a joke, or some kind of prank Gumball cooked up. But after a while, when they realize it's not an act, the whole town would start to feel uneasy. The teachers at Elmore Junior High would whisper about it in the staff room. The kids would keep their distance, and even Banana Joe would stop cracking jokes around him. The really creepy part is that evil Darwin wouldn't even have to do something dramatic at first. Just his vibe would be different. He'd speak softer but with more control, like he knows what people are thinking before they do. Elmore is a town that runs on chaos and silliness, so seeing someone as calm and controlled as evil Darwin would actually scare people more than if he started causing explosions or something. People would start avoiding him, not because he's openly dangerous, but because they can't predict him anymore. The school counselor would probably try to talk to him, but he'd just charm his way through the session, saying all the right things while clearly meaning none of it. Meanwhile, Gumball would completely lose it. At first, he'd think Darwin's just mad at him for something small, like not inviting him to a game or ignoring his advice. He'd try to joke it off, maybe pull a silly stunt to get Darwin to laugh, but nothing would work. Remember, Gumball's whole world pretty much revolves around Darwin. They're like two halves of the same weird brain. So watching his best friend become someone unrecognizable would break him. He'd go from denial to guilt to desperation, trying everything he can to get his old Darwin back. Apologies, promises, even emotional outbursts. But Darwin, in this darker state, would probably use that to his advantage. Even the rest of the Watterson family would react in their own ways. Nicole would take the strict route, thinking she can discipline him back into his senses, but that would just make him colder. Richard, being clueless but loving, would still treat him like the same sweet boy. And as things spiral, Gumball might start feeling like he's losing not just his best friend, but also the balance in his own life. He's always been the chaotic one, while Darwin was his anchor. Now that the roles are flipped, Gumball becomes the emotional mess, chasing someone who stopped believing in him. Either way, Elmore would never be the same again. And you know what would make it so heartbreaking? Deep down, maybe Darwin wouldn't actually want to hurt anyone. He'd know he's doing wrong. He'd see how his actions make people flinch or cry, but it's like something inside him just wouldn't let him stop. He'd look at the people he loves, Gumball, Nicole, Richard, Anais, and feel this confusing mix of guilt and resentment. He'd hate that he still cares, and he'd hate that he's hurting them. But he'd also feel like it's too late to go back, like being the good one was just a mask that everyone took advantage of. Gumball would be the one who refuses to give up on him. At first, he'd think he can fix Darwin the same way he fixes every problem, with humor, chaos, and crazy plans. He'd try cracking jokes, doing dumb stunts, even putting himself in ridiculous danger just to make Darwin laugh again. But Darwin wouldn't laugh, he'd just stare, maybe with a small, sad smile. And that's when it would really start sinking in for Gumball. This isn't just his buddy being moody. This is something broken. Gumball would start to unravel a bit after that, trying harder and harder to reach him, but everything he does just seems to push Darwin further away. The whole family will feel rattled and try to bring the real Darwin back, but meanwhile, Gumball would start blaming himself. He'd replay all the times he ignored Darwin's feelings, all the jokes at his expense, every moment he treated him like a sidekick instead of a partner. That guilt would eat him alive, but even through all that, he wouldn't stop trying. There'd probably be a scene where Gumball finally confronts Darwin, tears streaming down his face. And for the first time, that would make Darwin hesitate. You'd see it in his face, the real Darwin, the caring, emotional one, trying to break through. But here's where things get really suspicious, and fans are starting to think maybe the creators have a trick up their sleeves. Darwin has already started to show signs that things could get a little sinister inside that sweet heart of his. As a matter of fact, the Japanese dubbed version of the episode is titled Evil Darwin. At the beginning of the episode titled The Words, Darwin actually shows a surprisingly dark and aggressive side that's the complete opposite of his usual cheerful, kind-hearted nature. The episode begins with Gumball asking Darwin to be more honest, to stop sugarcoating everything and start speaking his mind. At first, Darwin takes this advice lightly and starts to tell people harmless truths. But as the episode goes on, his honesty becomes really cruel. First, we see Darwin mocking Tobias for striking the same pose in various pictures. He embarrasses poor Tobias to the point where he just awkwardly scoots away from the library. Then, Darwin evilly expresses his happiness to Gumball. In the hall, Darwin starts to sing a song, to Gumball's dismay. Everyone joins in with Darwin, but he insults Jamie, Carrie, Masami, and Banana Joe in the process, causing the latter two to run away crying. In fact, everyone gets furious at Darwin and leaves. Likewise, Terry complains to the principal that Darwin is being very unhygienic, to which Darwin panics because he thinks Terry's hands are covered in germs. Terry starts to panic and tries to see where they are, but Darwin licks Terry's hand. She runs off panicking while Principal Brown accuses him for acting this way. He even insults Mr. Small by calling him a very sad middle-aged man wearing sandals. Mr. Small is immediately offended and puts a tape over Darwin's mouth. Back in Miss Simeon's classroom, Anton is annoyingly scratching himself. Sussy is breathing very loudly. Miss Simeon is slurping her coffee, and Tina is tapping her nails on her desk. With every passing second, Darwin becomes more annoyed, and Gumball has no choice but to tell them all to get out before he hurts their feelings. In another episode titled The Bros, he tried to break up Gumball and Penny. The episode revolves around Gumball growing closer to Penny, which leaves Darwin feeling neglected and replaced. Normally, Darwin is the voice of reason, the emotional anchor who keeps Gumball grounded. But in this episode, his insecurity takes a dark turn. Feeling abandoned, Darwin decides to sabotage Gumball and Penny's growing bond. Instead of communicating his feelings directly, he plots behind Gumball's back, teaming up with Penny's father, Patrick Fitzgerald, to dig up dirt on her family. He manipulates Patrick's overprotective nature to interfere with the couple's relationship, showing Darwin's willingness to hurt others just to keep Gumball to himself. Throughout the episode, Darwin becomes more and more possessive and controlling, convinced that Gumball belongs to him as his best friend. We all know the show covers pretty much everything with humor, but it only revealed one thing. Darwin has got everything it takes to turn evil. The only question is, when will it happen? So whether Darwin's villain arc has already started, or it's still in future seasons, either way, one thing's for sure, if he ever snaps, Elmore is done for. And if you loved going on this wild journey with us, don't forget to like, drop your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more mind-twisting Gumball and Darwin content. Because who knows, next time we might just ask, what if Gumball turned evil instead?